What is, Ralph, really the end? But you see, you get sucked into side issues. Actually, the youth of today, I mean, the first thing that Britain is, more so than any other country, I don't think America even does it as much as we do, as much as we have been doing for about 25 years. It's the wrong phrase to say we fetishize youth, because we don't. I don't think we like young people. I went to Devon, about 17 years ago in my camper van, the little village that's at the bottom of the very steep famous hills where there was some big event 100 years ago. There were signs outside the pubs there that said children not allowed. I couldn't believe it. You'd never find that in Europe. Anyway, yeah, because Britain categorically 25 years ago, through the advertising and I call it all the monolith, military industrial complex plus media plus advertising plus even things like the funeral industry in Britain is such a rip-off. Yes, young people are the market in Britain. The market. That's all they are. Britain doesn't care about young people, but they are the 18 to 30s are the easiest con if you're marketing things into them. So yes, we've turned into this bizarre society of youth is all that matters. All that matters is actually I haven't trimmed my eyebrows. Yeah. Young people don't know. I mean, for example, you can't say what I'm about to say. Young people, well, like Ash Sarkar, best bless her cotton socks, will never say the following because only a middle-aged person can know that there are just a few things in life that actually matter and that are truisms. One is, for example, in the magnificent Sweetheart Like You by Bob Dylan, there is a line, but it's only in the alternate version. It is on YouTube. Oppression is a cruel tutor. Injustice is a nurse. Now, I've shared that line with many so-called thoughtful activisty, or we would just call them in the old days, right on people. And they all kind of look at you like, but they don't actually know what you mean. Now, it's the most magnificent line, and here's the point. You can only know that those words are true. Oppression is a cruel tutor. Injustice is a nurse. Once you've been through stuff where, well, you've been in the metaphorical Lubyanka, Evgeny Ginsberg, the greatest Russian non-fiction writer, basically said so in her books Whirlwind and Into the Whirlwind. I'd recommend them to anybody. Anyway, what is Ralph Schism? You can't even say those things in Britain. I've said them a few times. But you can't say the following. That your fucking teachers and your parents don't teach people. Now, I have to literally curate every electron. But why doesn't everybody? This is a very old car battery. And, okay, I just picked up, I think they were both second-hand. Yes, they were both second-hand. That's a lower power inverter. That's a higher power one. So, just for the phone, I'm using the lower power one, which has been fixed and repurposed. Point being that I think I'm just charging the phone, so I don't use the higher power one. I use the lower power one. Anybody could have a car battery, they're linked up. So why has this moron not got solar? Because it's quite expensive, and also I don't like to leave solar panels showing. It looks like you're living in your vehicle. I've lived this one 3 years, well, nearly 3.5 really. But your teachers, now I resent your younger people, sorry, and older politicians of course as well, but they say, we've got all these magnificent wind turbines now. Each one of them has a massive carbon footprint in the creation of. And I think it's called Parkinson's law, or no, it's not Moore's law. Use of something expands in accordance with, in parallel to the capacity. In other words, we've got supposedly cleaner energy, which isn't until they've been going for a few years, some say even about 10 years. Nobody tells anybody to use less electricity. Now, I personally saw Wales, where I love to walk, just covered in these fucking things. And, if the teachers and the parents had taught their kids from day one, turn a switch off when you're leaving a room, turn your computer off. I'm sorry, leaving it on standby does actually drain the battery. I value Britain, but I don't. But somebody, your stupid Russell Brands. I mean, the point being is that this is an extraordinary moment. Okay, you can say it's the first of many brutal wars that are even streamed on TikTok by the war criminals, whatever. Going back to your little Owen Joneses and dreadful people like this, if they'd say, look, hey people, this is still about hydrocarbons. If you actually want to care, really start to cut down the use of hydrocarbons. Now, I'm not a stupid moron. I know the whole of the modern capitalist system. We've known this for 30, 40 years. Even Naomi Klein managed to work it out. It's based on consumption. But we do have to reduce it. Yes, there's going to be a huge problem, and I'm not going to preach about that because people have preached about that for 40 years. Owen Jones, before you start blaming other people, have you spent years before you turn yourself into one of the worst journalists in history? Have you spent years trying to just find ways of speaking with your generation? Turn the fucker off. Keep your old laptops going. My old laptops are just as good as... Anyway, I think that's what Ralph is. Is that what Ralph is? That's all Ralph is. Oh yes, now the thing you... Oh yes. Well, let's end on this. What Ralph really is, but of course you must be incredibly careful of anybody that speaks of themselves in the third person. That's a rule of life. I just have spoken for a week just because I'm bored of speaking in other ways. Nothing I come up with is intelligent, is original in any way, except it's all original to me, but it's all obvious, it's all simple. But you see, what really the issue is what if we had, you don't realise, none of you, I do, because I've done the work over the years just plodding through, thinking about what the intellectuals are saying and what the supposedly sane people are saying. Yes, you're woke. I've heard some interesting things about woke lately. Now, right from the word go, there was a way to nuke woke. And let's back out of the word woke. What your country is the most atrocious teachers and professors and commentariat. Because if they'd have said the following, you see, this is the answer to woke I knew about 7 years ago. Now, I'm a racist pig, just like everybody else. I looked at the Guardian best films of this last decade, the 10s, I think it was. I had that on my desktop for a long time, when Putlocker was reliable, and I left till the end. Number 5 on the list was a film called Samson and Delilah. Yeah, Samson and Delilah. And there's a picture of an Aboriginal face. And it's like, I'd left that till towards the end. In other words, about a year plodding through that list. When I got to it, it's like, excuse me, whitey, British, or American can't make films like that. It has got nothing to do with an Aborigine. It's made by an Aborigine, and his daughter does the soundtrack, which is absolutely fucking orgasmic. It's a universal, superb film about just, I don't use the word power, just about assumptions that one person is lesser, which has been going through society, still is, no matter what your colour or whatever. If you're of all these moaning people who've just jumped on this bandwagon, it's just a bandwagon and said, actually, it's whitey that's got the problem in America. even French art house films have reduced in quality, but it's Whitey that's got the problem, because Warwick Thornton, the director, excuse me, he's made one of the greatest films of this century. No Whitey can do that. The problem is your professors, your so-called commentariat, most of them are associated with academ, have jumped on this bandwagon, and they need to be told to shut the fuck up and actually think of useful things to say. Now, if I'd have heard somebody convincing telling me that, because I didn't trust The Guardian, I'd be like, right, I'm going to watch it. Yeah, I get it. Hey, it's the young white people at film school in London who are actually the less well-off people who've got a problem, because there are basic rules of life, and if you're going to go through life kind of always feeling aggrieved, they should feel aggrieved. They should all, I don't believe in suing anybody, but they should certainly get all the professors, all of them, sacked. Every single one. Not cancelled, sacked for being really, really bad at their jobs. The end. But it's until people have a bit of a out-of-the-box think. Well, you see, the problem is even that statement. I try and avoid all these labels. It's just, let's use his horrible phrase, back to the simple basics, back to basics. But it's not back to basics in some Puritan way. I'm actually in favour of advancements in all sorts of ways. But get real. I'm sorry, there are basic objective standards that are not against the postmodern. It's like, obviously that's a brilliant film. Excuse me, it's absolutely brilliant. And if you don't cry at it, you're probably a bit of a zombie. Whitey can't make films like that. So stop saying that. That the indigenous. There's an indigenous person in the news today. Excuse me, they've got great talents and they're doing just fine, many of them, and you also have to leave them to pull their people up. Anyway, let's not get into that. But your professors here are just telling you that total rubbish, that people who have been oppressed, have been injusticed, are basket cases. I'm sorry, that's the greatest film I've seen. Donald Glover's television series, Atlanta. He probably wasn't impressed. He's probably essentially middle class. But only good, absolutely superb television I've seen that I watched on a pirate site. Blah, blah, blah. It's just, excuse me, before opening your gob, this is the problem. I think a lot of these things you do need, unfortunately, the 40, 50-year-olds. And I completely believed in the punk revolution and even the counterculture revolution of the 60s. Not that I was old enough to. Anyway, there we go. That's what Ralph is. Ralph is... I'm just so bored. I never hear any down-to-earth, common sense, reasonable, intelligent, thoughtful comments from anybody, ever. Ever. The end.